is the minors, the breakout stars,
early on in day 3 of the draft, the Pirates called,
the wild moments, and the prospects you need to know about.
A sub-3 ERA in both single and double A.
This is Minor League Weekly, your inside look at the future of the game. And away we go with episode 11 of Minor League Weekly on the Minor League Minute YouTube channel. And of course, you can find us at Minor League Minute on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts after the fact, but we are live every Monday night around 7:15 p.m.-ish Central Time. The ice is melting. It's getting warmer out. College baseball's underway. Konnor Griffin is just continuing to see his stock go up, and more farm features on the way. We have all that coming at you today. Cory Sparks here driving the ship. We have Sam Strash. First off, Sam, how are you?
Doing just fine. It's about 64 degrees in South Beloit, Illinois this afternoon. Got outside, got some sun, some fresh air. Got to open the windows in the house and let all that winter stale, stuffy air inside, let it all out. Bring in some fresh air. We're going to be batting down the hatches again because it's going to get down to the 30s in a couple days again.
The faux spring is probably my least favorite part of the year, where you get the little taste of what could be, and then we're probably going to get a blizzard in like 2 weeks. Jacob, how's the weather on the East Coast?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's good. It's getting warm too, into the 50s as well. I'm just excited seeing all of the clips of spring training, guys getting back to the facility. Of course, would be jealous to get down to Florida, see the 70s-degree weather on the fields. But yeah, just great baseball, college baseball. The pros getting ready. WBC is on the way. Super excited for it all.
Yeah, everything's heating up, right? So here's a quick rundown of what we will be talking about in this order. Konnor Griffin's stock, we know that's going up. We know he's heating up. Seen some of the clips across various social media platforms of he and Bubba Chandler discussing what could be a magical season for both of them and a Pirates team that's looking to bring their best farm hands up to the top. We'll go over risers, stock up, fallers, stock down. And the second to last episode of Farm Features, we have the Angels, the Athletics, insert location here, and the Seattle Mariners. And then for segment 5, we wrap up today's show talking about the opening week of NCAA baseball. And if you missed it, we'll do our best to give you a crash course of what happened. It was anything but a boring opening weekend. So much to watch, crazy scores, breakout stars, possible lottery or top few picks. There's no lottery in Major League Baseball towards the end there, but that's okay. I think, look, there is a lot to be excited about. I think we've done a pretty good job of mixing it up, finding different things to talk about in the offseason, but we can see the light at the end of the tunnel, right? Like, there is a lot to be excited about coming up. And I want to begin with Konnor Griffin. This is a question we haven't directly addressed. We've talked about his impressive first pro season, how he's the complete guy. Sam, you did a great job a handful of episodes ago talking about the absurd numbers he's put up. But the question we're going to answer today is, will Konnor Griffin, less than 2 years after he was drafted, albeit this is getting more normal, debut in 2026? I'll start by saying I think he has to at some point. And here's the thing. Probably sounds crazy. Probably won't happen, but here's my rationale. If Konnor Griffin shows out in spring training and is as complete as he's been so far, have him skip AAA. And that sounds nuts. I understand the minors are constructed very intentionally, and due to service time manipulation, it probably will not happen. But we saw a case study not too long ago with a guy named Cam Smith, who, great prospect, not nearly the talent that Konnor Griffin is, and worse things could have happened. The Pirates desperately need run support, and while they went out and did make a handful of offseason transactions, way more than they have the last couple of years, I think they can feel the urgency picking up with someone like Paul Skeens already entering year 3. I think this is an important move to make, especially if, let's say, you're getting in through spring training, an injury happens, and all of a sudden the pressure starts to ramp back up on that lineup, or you're in late April and we pass that deadline day, and you realize Konnor Griffin's just tearing the cover off the ball. So do I think he skips AAA? No. Do I think it is something that front office and Bob Nutting should genuinely consider if he's hitting off major league pitching and looks as confident as he has? Because, Sam, you brought this up. As he elevates up the minors, he only gets better. supposed to be the opposite. There's supposed to be a learning curve, but I think it's something they should consider. Will he debut in 2026? I'm 1,000% convinced he will.
Yeah. So, oh, go for it, Jacob.
No. Go ahead, Sam. Go ahead, Sam.
Okay. Right on. Well, so MLB.com's got him at AA Altoona to begin the season. Fangraphs has him at AAA Indianapolis, and I think he starts there. It's going to be very difficult to keep him there, but again, like you said, and I've alluded to in the past, the bat does not seem to waver at all as Konnor Griffin gets promoted. If anything, it gets better. His highest OPS mark was at AA last year at a 960 in 21 games, compared to in about 50 games at other levels, 942 and 932, which is still ridiculous, but it just keeps getting better as he keeps getting called up. The fielding is just as stellar too, and out of all of Pittsburgh's current infielders, how many of them are full-time shortstops? And I'll give you a hint. That number is less than 1. Right? You have to ask yourself, if you're Bob Nutting, you have to ask yourself, if you're any of the coaches on the Pittsburgh staff, can you seriously trust Nick Gonzalez, who is a subpar defender, to man shortstop only because they brought in Brandon Lau to replace him at second base? Again, Lau's not a full-time shortstop. Jared Triolo's not a full-time shortstop. It's only a matter of time. I think if you give Konnor Griffin about 30 games to figure it out at AAA, if that bat is still nasty, why bother keeping him down?
Yeah, I think I'm with you too. I mean, just bottom line is don't mess it up. We've seen with other NL Central teams, Cardinals. Sorry about that with Jordan Walker. Don't go back and forth. I think I'm with Sam in the fact, and it may seem like it's 2 against 1 here. I think we're all in consensus that he's going to come up. I think that's not a disagreement. I think I'm with Sam. I think you've got to kind of see. With Paul Skeens, it was 7 starts in 2024, then he was up. I think the Pirates, or at least maybe that's what I see them doing here, where he gets like 20 games maybe, and then if he's ripping the cover off the ball again, then he gets the call up. I think the other thing I'm interested, I know, Sam, you brought up the infield with him and that shortstop spot being open. I know he's also listed in the outfield, and that's something that they're discussing. Don't really see the need, and if they want to change positions with him, I think shortstop is the move. But I think the whole narrative too around the Pirates is the run support. They went out and added veterans to add to that lineup. There's more depth in that lineup before to kind of alleviate the pressure of a guy like Griffin coming in. Oh, hey, Konnor Griffin, you're supposed to come in. You're supposed to bat 260, 270, get on base a ton, steal a bunch of bags. I think they slow play a little bit. Of course, there's the service time manipulation, but you don't want to put that pressure on this kind of guy that has so much potential and is going to be in a Bucs uniform for a long time.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but did the Pirates not just DFA Jack Sawinski this morning, correct? Or was it yesterday? So there is another roster spot cleared if they do want to bring him to the outfield. I mean, it seemingly worked all right for O'Neal Cruz, at least. I mean, that he's got an absolute cannon of an arm and he's got great speed, so he feels like a center field, right field kind of guy. Konnor Griffin, I could see being a center field, right field kind of guy as well. It really is just dependent on if Pittsburgh thinks that they can run out Nick Gonzalez at shortstop as their everyday shortstop, and he won't botch a lot of ground balls or botch a lot of throws this year, because he is. And with no disrespect to Nick Gonzalez, he is a former top prospect of Pittsburgh's system. He just, simply put, is a subpar defender.
Yeah, great bat. Honestly, one of their better bats of 2025, and that is not saying much considering that their Achilles heel is registering runs, specifically when Paul Skeens was on the mound, right? Not to punt this organization by any means. I can tell you guys are a little more conservative on this than me. Any way under the sun, he skips AAA and starts opening day. Or are we ruling that out?
I'm just looking at the track record of the Pirates. I think maybe if you're looking at a different organization, that's where I could see he skips it. Like if we're talking about the Guardians, we're talking about the Rays, we're talking about one of these other organizations. The Pirates, even with Skeens, who was generational, his ascent, they still gave him like 7 starts before they called it. So that's my hesitancy.
That's fair.
I'm gonna lean no. You just don't see that very often. I mean, the last guy in the NL Central to do that was Jackson Chourio, and he still played about 20 games there, right? So it really depends on what you view as quote unquote skipping that level. I could see him possibly playing less than 20 games at AAA. I mean, if Pittsburgh's starting cold and their run support is terrible, but Konnor Griffin's got 5 homers in his first 15 games, again, why wait?
Yeah.
But if Pittsburgh's off to a nice little start and their offense is cooking and Konnor Griffin he's doing okay at AAA, don't rush it. You don't want to mess up the development of a 5-tool potential superstar player. And like Konnor Griffin can profile, that's his ceiling, at least to me, is that this guy is a potential superstar player in Major League Baseball. You don't want to rush that. And like you said, Jacob, you can't mess it up like other teams in your own division have done with other potential star talents.
And we've kind of been grazing through this, right? But for those wondering, like, oh, do they want to do the service time manipulation thing or buy another year of control before arbitration comes knocking after 3 years? And then ultimately you get the full 6 years of control when those negotiations really start to heat up. If you don't have an extension, the full year of service time is 172 days. It depends on how the calendar works out, but you will, in about 2 months' time, roughly, see an influx of prospects get that call up. It's usually between 16 and 20 days into the season or around mid-April when teams get under 172 days and essentially get that bonus year where it's 6 years of control, basically 7, if you're flirting with that deadline. So to the hypothetical that both of you have brought up, and I think, Sam, you just said it recently, give Konnor Griffin a couple weeks or a couple weeks in Indianapolis. And if he's earning his keep, which I think we can all expect him to based on what's been happening so far, then you call him up. That's just doing business in baseball. That's not even harboring someone down there and hugging a prospect. That's just not wanting to have those tough conversations that are especially tough for teams like the Pirates and moving that timeline back a full year. I also had a Freudian slip a few minutes ago and said there's no lottery. I think I'm still thinking of football. There is most definitely a lottery in baseball. I said there wasn't. 100% is. And I'm like, what was I thinking? Like, I was watching the All-Star game in basketball. Actually, a lot better this year. They have a lottery. So does baseball. Anyway, just wanted to get that out of the way because I realized I completely misstepped there. But I'm with you guys. I think it's a pipe dream to have him pull a Cam Smith and literally not play a game in AAA. With how the Pirates do business, with the financial restrictions that they currently operate with, and maybe that's a different conversation post-2027, I think it's smart business to let Konnor Griffin light the world on fire, give those Indianapolis fans a show for a couple of weeks, maybe a homestand or two, call them right up, and hopefully at that point the Pirates are chilling at like 12-10, and they're in the early race, and they're earning buzz, right? So I think that's our consensus there. If you guys have any questions throughout this entire episode, drop them in the live chat. You can also find us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, of course, YouTube, all the amazing social media platforms. Throw questions in there. Those will be top of mind for these live episodes and videos to come. I want to comb over to risers, stock up, if you will. And this is not my AL West team that I'll be doing the farm feature for today, but I saw him in headlines in MILB.com earlier this week. It's Colt Emerson, Mariners' top prospect currently. There's a lot of positive talk about him, about his ceiling, and how he's a lot closer to his potential than other players at this stage of their career usually are. Mariners president of baseball operations called Emerson confident, called him humble, well put together, a big fan of how Colt goes about his day-to-day business. That's the same language you're hearing from guys like Paul Skeens about Konnor Griffin. Like, I'm talking to a 19-year-old prospect, and I feel like I'm talking to a 6, 7, 8-year MLB veteran because of how they compose themselves. Very similar dialogue in the Mariners pipeline and in their front office about Colt Emerson. This is a big league, or this is Emerson is just 20 years of age, so I think this is a huge deal. And he played just 6 games in AAA Tacoma last year. The same exact concept we're talking about with Konnor Griffin will likely be applied to Emerson. April, 18th rolls around and his service time doesn't start for another year. Then he comes up. But I just want to give a grander look at Colt Emerson. Riser, stock up for him over his 222-game minor league career so far. Kind of similar to Griffin, elevating at each level, getting a little better. 287 batting average, 398 on base percentage. OPS, nothing crazy, but it's over that 800 mark. It's over that league average mark. So someone who has some pop, someone who hits for average, and someone who is earning rave reviews from the front office as a 20-year-old. That is the dream, right? You can have someone reaching their peak this early, get a long prime out of someone like this. So buying in on Colt Emerson stock as it's already going up, seemingly.
I'm going to stick right with you, Cory, and we're taking it away from Sam. We're taking it away from Sam here in the Risers. The Mariners, I'm going to stick with Kate Anderson here, the 2025 draft choice for the Mariners, number 3 overall. And just watching some video, too, over the last few days, over the weekend, some live ABs. Of course, you can only read so much into that, but going up against a guy like Dom Canzone, Randy Arozarena, Miles Mastrobuoni, struck out all of them. A few of those guys in the World Baseball Classic upcoming. He also faced off against Cal Raleigh, got him to pop up to left. The excitement is there, not only with Emerson, but with Anderson as well. Talking about the Pirates with Griffin, with Chandler, with Schemes. How about the Mariners with Emerson, with Anderson? Sam, get us some more as well later on. He threw a bullpen to Cal Raleigh, and it was reported that the entire staff was just standing there behind him, watching him, Kirby, Gilbert, the like. So, I mean, there's a strong belief in this organization, not just for Emerson, but Anderson leading the charge and sustaining what this Mariners team built this past year.
Yeah, and Kate Anderson, again, this is a guy that went from being a stretch reliever, really, like a spot starter stretch reliever in his freshman year at LSU, to arguably the best pitcher in the nation in about a calendar year's time. So, of course, for a guy who didn't throw it all post-draft in 2025, he's going to get plenty of looks going into 2026. And like you said, Jacob, I wouldn't be surprised if he is up as far as AA Arkansas come September of this year. I'm going to go because you guys took my Mariners, which we'll talk more later. And here's terminology I want the viewers out there to remember for later on. Addition by subtraction is the name of the game for the Seattle Mariners this year. But we're going to stick to my personal neck to the woods here in the great Midwest. The Beloit Sky Carp, I want to talk about Dylan Lewis. I'll keep it brief. Dylan Lewis received his first career non-roster invite this year to Miami Marlins spring training. He was included in the Ryan Weathers trade with the New York Yankees back this past January, just about a month or so ago. I want to say it was on January 13th, so we're just over a month since he's changed organizations. Dylan Lewis has got size, and he's got good pop in that bat as well. 22 homers and a 766 OPS in 122 games between Single-A Tampa with the Tarpons and High-A Hudson Valley with the Renegades in the Yankees system last year. This is a guy that I could definitely see at least starting the year at High-A, like he finished with Hudson Valley last year. He had a pretty strong finish with them as well. I could see him starting the year at High-A, but Dylan Lewis, he's got some age to him as well. This is a guy that I think could progress pretty quickly through the Marlins system. They have some solid outfielders, but it's pretty top-heavy. Outside of the major league guys, there's a pretty steep drop-off, and then you get a guy like Dylan Lewis. So I think Dylan Lewis, he's going to be my riser getting that first non-roster invite. Come on, kid, here's your chance.
Yeah.
Right?
Anytime you have an NRI in like the Single-A or High-A level, you kind of perk your eyebrows up a little bit and say, okay, this isn't just a journeyman who flew into the organization. I know the Brewers are doing that with like a Reese McGuire, right? Where it's, we're going to try and build out the roster and see what's going on. When you have someone in High-A that's getting that first invite, best believe the front office is going to be looking and going, let's see if this kid can hang, and that could possibly dictate how quickly they think he flies up. Even more than maybe his first week in High-A, right? It'd be High-A Beloit, or his first week in Double-A. If they see he's doing really well in spring training, it might be, hey, kid, go out there for a couple of weeks it's yours to lose the promotion because you impressed me so much. And Jacob, I love the anecdote on Cade Anderson. I had talked with Javik Blake a handful of months ago, probably more than that now, when Jacob Mizorowski's hype was at an all-time high, right? Handful of innings to start his Major League Baseball career, and he hadn't given up a hit yet and was just mowing guys down. Javik had told me when the Miz hype wasn't as high, but we knew it was a lengthy guy in the Brewers system who could throw fast. A very similar story to what you just described about Cade Anderson. Look, we can sit behind mics and talk a lot about guys that we analyze, but when your peers are gathering around your first bullpen session because they just want to see what's going on, that's what happened with Jacob Mizorowski in Double-A Biloxi with the Shuckers. That's what's happening with Cade Anderson, where his peers, a bunch of dudes who can just flat out play, want to see him. They're almost like fans in that instant, where they're going, this kid came out of nowhere, right? Sam, you mentioned the 1-year turnaround for him and his meteoric rise. His own peers are almost like someone who is just eager to be in the first row and watch his debut, except for them, his debut was seeing his first bullpen in front of them. So I'm really excited for both of those guys. I think their stocks are on the way up. For fallers, I feel like I've harped on this pipeline and I've harped on the Diamondbacks pipeline a little bit in a couple of episodes past. The Texas Rangers, this is not me, being mean to them. I genuinely now feel bad because their farm was not in a great, well-rounded position to begin with. Now they lose their top prospect this past week in Sebastian Walcott to UCL surgery. They're saying it's going to take him out the majority of the season, if not the entire season. You want to be a glass half full person. They're attacking this early. Maybe you get a month out of him, and then he goes and plays Arizona Fall League ball way in front of us, right? We're looking over half a year from now and can play a decent chunk of what would be a professional baseball season in 2026. But just to back up a little, it wasn't that long ago, right? This team already cashed out for Mackenzie Gore, and I think that's a deal that their big league club is going to be happy about. But everybody needs a decent farm and a decent feeder system because not only is that something that's going to feed into your big league ball club, but it's going to be trade leverage. And frankly, when you don't have a Sebastian Walcott down there, there is not a ton to gawk at, to be excited about. And that's really been the case in general for the Rangers since Wyatt Langford graduated a couple of years ago. They haven't had a whole lot of farm depth. And Sebastian Walcott was the one blue chip stock, the gem in there to look at and go, they've got a top 10 guy in Major League Baseball right now. And now he might be taken out for the full year. So just feeling for the Rangers pipeline a little bit. They have a recent ring. They kind of did the equivalent to what the Los Angeles Rams did in the NFL a handful of years ago. Just sold out to try and win it all. And they had that meteoric rise, and they're trying to do it again. But yeah, losing your top prospect for 5 months at minimum, that's not great news. So feeling for the Rangers at this point.
Yeah, that look for me putting him in the risers category a few weeks ago is not looking too
it's
hot.
hindsight.
It's not looking too
Hindsight's 2020.
Yeah, I mean, had no idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, my faller going straight to college ball, and I know we'll get into some standouts and some spotlights a little bit later on in the show tonight. But starting it off with a bad beat, Scott Van Pelt, shout out here. So Indiana baseball. Up 3-1. For those of you who didn't see the video of what happened, they were up 3-1 in the bottom of the 9th inning against number 11 UNC. Bases loaded, and the Bill Buckner moment happened. Ground ball to second. The game is over. Aiden Stewart is coming up with the ball, and he lets go of it, and it just goes right into the ground. Past the first baseman, 2 runs score, and then UNC walks it off in the 11th inning, just 2 innings later. Just, again, we've all been there. Baseball journey, the mistake, the hand-eye coordination, just whether you're throwing it with your buddy or it's in the game, just a brutal moment, bad beat. Thankfully, it is the beginning of the season, but for Indiana baseball, not as fortunate as the football team in their success. Just a bad beat to start the season and could have been at least getting 1 win against the Tar Heels, a ranked squad.
My heart broke for him, and you just reminded me by saying
brutal.
by saying we all know, right? Like all of us have played baseball to varying levels. I think Sam's got the most experience on us. I stopped my sophomore year. I'll give you a little story time here, not to make this the Cory show, but in like 3rd grade, was going up against this kid. We both had the exact same crush, and we're playing in like 9U baseball, right? I'm playing left field, pretty shallow. I knew he could hit it, but it wasn't, you're 9 years old. No one's hitting wall scrapers or anything like that. Hits a rocket right at me, popped out of the glove, dropped it. I will never forget that day. Connor's a great dude. I talked to him a decent amount now. Unbelievable, fumble on my part. Aiden Stewart probably feels 20,000 times worse because that was on national television. And if I didn't just broadcast this on here, no one else would have ever known about that. But then you know how awful he probably felt in extras, just hoping that an inspirational win for the Hoosiers can be the headline of that game and not, what was that, a 20 to 30 foot throw? I mean, I feel horrible. The ball just stuck in his hand. That's all it was. He spiked it. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I don't know. You just gave me a flashback to 3rd grade, and I felt the need to share that.
Oh, man.
Yeah, everyone has those moments. I let a ball go underneath my glove at third base in our 9-10U Little League Championship game. We were up 2-1, and I let 3 runs in.
Oh, no!
Point. So everyone's got those moments. No. Not your proudest days. Speaking of not having your proudest of moments, I know we're going to talk about them a little bit later in the light of Virginia baseball is very good, but I want to talk about it as Wagner baseball is very bad. Come on, man. You get 30 balled. Just listen to this progression of events here. You get 30 balled by Virginia this past weekend. The day after giving up 25 to that same Virginia, which is also the day after giving up 13 to them. That's not as bad as 25 or 30. All while today, February 16th, is exactly 1 year after also getting 30 balled by Indiana State when you give up 36 to them, which is also a year after giving up 20 twice in 7 days to UNC and Texas A&M respectively, which is 2 years removed from going 4-23 before winning consecutive games in a season. Wagner baseball.
Wow. Stop playing in February.
It's looking bleak on it's looking bleak on Long Island. And I'll give credit where credit's due. They had really solid years in 2023, and outside of giving up 36 in one game last year, they actually had a pretty solid 2025. But I'm not even just talking about this as a baseball thing anymore. At what point does the university consider moving down a division? Or doing what St. Francis did and moving down 2 divisions? Because, or at least for baseball, but what about all sports? They've had one Northeast Conference Baseball Conference Championship. That was in 2000. They've only had 2 Men's Basketball Conference Championships in 2003, 2024. None in Women's College Basketball. They have 1 Women's Soccer Conference Championship this past year. 2 Football Conference Championships in 2012 and 2014. And 1 Division III National Championship, fun fact, on the football side. Their softball program had 4 straight winning seasons to begin their program history when they started playing in 2005. They have not had a winning season since. So at what point does Wagner University consider bumping down a division? With all due respect to the guys and gals that play for the Wagner Seahawks, I feel terrible for you guys. Obviously something's not right in the water over at Wagner.
How do you solve that? Right? You mentioned maybe going down divisions. Do you just do the bye game thing where you have a couple Division II tune-ups? But be careful there, right? We live in Wisconsin, Sam. Doug Gottlieb had a bye game with a Division II school, and UW Green Bay's men's basketball program, a lot better this year, lost.
Yeah, they are.
So,
yep.
Do you do the cross-divisional play and hope it turns into a confidence booster, knowing that it might backfire if you don't wallop them? That's some crazy good research. I would feel horrible to be in that athletic program with the knowledge of that. Wow. Poor Wagner, man.
Speaking of that,
a great legacy. Go for it. Oh, you.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I know a few people who they worked in the athletic department where athletics assistants, SIDs, sports information directors. They're no longer there, but I mean, yeah, I'm sure that they know that kind of that kind of history.
It's honestly impressive. I think, to be quite honest with you, it's impressive in all the wrong ways, but nonetheless, it's still impressive that at least for baseball, that sequence of events. I mean, man, just stop scheduling the best programs in the nation if you know this is what's going to happen. Go play Troy. Go play Southern Miss if you're going to schedule a top 25. Go play Northeastern State. Play someone that's not going to beat you by 30 runs. I mean, that's at some point, that's just tarnishing the confidence of everyone on that roster.
It's like the drop set in a gym, right? Like teams will do that, like a UW Milwaukee or a Fairfield, where they'll go up against Coastal Carolina or LSU, and then you go up against your interleague opponents in, let's say, the Horizon League, right, or the MAAC, Metro Atlantic, and it's like, this is a lot easier. There's almost a jarring impact the first couple of games because you're not facing an LSU arm that throws 98, or you're not facing a guy who in preseason polls is supposed to be one of the best pitchers in college baseball in Fluky out of Coastal Carolina. But when you keep scheduling it and you keep losing on the same day of the year by 20 plus runs, I totally get it. What you're saying, Sam. All I know is on this screen right now, I see 12 years of eligibility. We could go and flip it. We can go and change it.
Hey now.
Let's go. Let's go be the change we want to see in Wagner. That's about all I have to say.
Do they have the NIL coming in?
Yeah.
If they have the NIL coming in, I mean, shoot. Let's see what we can do.
We can get a little minor league minute partnership going on. Get a fund. I think we can flip this baseball program around. I will not name drop this athletic program that I believe no longer exists. The university still does. Sam, because you and I are from the same conference, you may know it. Used to have a baseball program. I believe they were in our region. They may have been in Upper Michigan. And every year from when I was in college,
I know who you're talking about.
From 2019 to 2023, we'll get into details after this, that my team, Oshkosh, played them. It'd be run rule. The pitchers were throwing low 70s, and they went on a decent streak without winning a game to where I didn't do it. I felt it was distasteful. Other play-by-play announcers would jump on the mic and imply, like, I think I could go out there and hang. And I was like, that is so foul. Like, that's arguably the last thing you should say. But it was one of those moments where you start to kind of wonder what that coach is saying and how they galvanize that group when they're not playing a whole lot of competitive baseball. And I'm sure Wagner's kind of having some of those soul-searching moments.
I just double-checked.
Yep.
That if we're talking about the same university here, they actually closed their doors following the spring 2023 semester.
Yep.
So they are no longer, if this is the school that we're both talking about here.
Yeah, we'll talk. I think we both got the exact same place in mind. And with that, we will jump off of Fallers and go into farm features and begin with the Angels.
Talking about something or another organization that some people are like, what is going on, fellas? We're going to discuss that with the Los Angeles Angels. Take a look at the prospects, top prospects, strengths, weaknesses. You know the drill, everyone watching at home, if you have been. Starting off number one, just talked about Cade Anderson. I'm going to talk about the other guy that was drafted right ahead of them. A lot of debate in the 2025 draft. Who was going 2 and 3 after Eli Willits? Well, this guy, Tyler Bremner, number 1 in the Angels system. ETA, it's listed as 2026. I'll get into my rule with the Angels in just a little bit. He's MLB's number 91 prospect in 2025 rankings. He was moved up to number 81 in 2026 in the latest rankings. Again, a lot of questions about picking Bremner, a little bit of an unknown compared to what Anderson was able to do, as we mentioned before at LSU. Uses his frame well, standing on the mound at 6'2", does not pitched in rookie ball yet, so very similar to Anderson. He'll really get the first taste of it upcoming coming here in 2026. Should start there in rookie ball, maybe could make his way up. Single A, high A. I think double A is definitely on the table by season's end. I think the biggest question for him is going to be, what do the Angels view him as? Is he going to be a reliever with his stuff, or is he going to be a starter? Right now, a 3-pitch mix: fastball, changeup, slider. Fastball, slider, both graded out at a 65 elite. Fastball sitting 95 to 98 with good ride. Changeup really looks like a split change, very Kevin Gausman-esque, just drops off the table, goes from really the middle of the zone down to the knees very quickly. Biggest question, mentioned the slider, sweeper, really doesn't throw it a ton. Can he get away with 2 pitches as a starter while he develops a third, while he develops a fourth? I think that's definitely going to be a big question for him in 2026 and moving forward. Invited to spring training as a non-roster invitee, highlighting a very impressive group for the Angels. Get into a few names a little bit later on about that. Now, guys, I'm going to go with Sam's approach with the other LA team and what I think the Angels are going to do and what I think they should do with the ETA of these guys here, because they're a little bit interesting strategy they got going on in Anaheim. So my ETA is 2027. Let him develop, have a full season, work in the minor leagues, kind of work his way up through single A, establish himself, and I've mostly probably as a starter. They're going to give him those reps first, see how he adjusts, and maybe bring him up 2027 again as another non-roster invitee, what he can bring to the table. Angels ETA, maybe late 2026, because sometime we'll get to that a little bit later on, bringing guys up very quickly. There is a need for pitching. For their point of view, maybe late 2026, maybe on the same timeline of 2027. Number 2 is a guy they already called up in that same vein, Ryan Johnson, ETA 2026. He did pitch at the end of 2025. He was the number 96 prospect in the top 100 in 2025, unranked in the newest rankings. Was drafted over slot in the 2nd round by the Angels in 2024 and has already made his big league debut, just playing 1 season in high A. Very compact, high delivery, relies on a 3-pitch mix: cutter, slider, sinker. Cutter averages just about 91, but has a remarkable 2.4 inches of horizontal run along the zone. Slider leads to some pretty ugly hacks as well when he moves it across the zone. Some ugly swings from Vlad Guerrero, Bo Bichette when they played the Blue Jays. Problem lies with hitters sitting on that movement, laying off of it, and then he has to put that pitch around the middle of the zone and barreling it up against the best in the game. Another case of the Angels, like Ben Joyce, really liking what they see in the lower levels, and you're just going to go straight up to the show, my friend. Set him up after a 1.88 ERA in just 12 starts in high A before getting the call, but finished the year with a 7.38 ERA in the bigs. But that was in large part to allowing 5 runs in a third of an inning against the White Sox in his final start to end the season. Angels ETA. Here we go again, guys. Angels ETA 2026 will be a depth piece when someone goes out in the pen. For me, it's agreeance. I think he's going to be back up in the bigs, but right now the Angels did sign Brent Suter, Jordan Romano, Kirby Yates, Drew Pomeranz, Robert Stevenson will be coming back as well. So it's a lot more crowded than it was last season for Los Angeles. So, maybe there could be a case he's not listed as well on the team's depth chart as well at this time. So there might be a situation where put him in the minors and he is the break glass. If one of these veterans has an injury, you need to bring him up. But I'm agreeing with the Angels ETA, like ChatGPT. That's what I'm going with here. Number 3 with the prospects is George Clausen, right-hander, ETA 2026 as well. Get to that in a few moments. 2023 draft choice by the Philadelphia Phillies in the 6th round, and was traded with fellow prospect Sam Aldeguerri for Carlos Estevez in 2024. Really a trade that both teams are really not benefiting Estevez gone from the Phillies, and Clausen and Aldegari still finding their way. Grade is a 70 grade fastball. It's electric, 55 grade curve, 55 grade slider. Fastball, the headliner. The biggest thing for him is control and staying healthy. He's shown flashes of brilliance, but sustaining it is the biggest thing. Was promoted across 4 levels back in 2024, finishing in AA, but finished with a 5 ERA there. Started strong through the promotion. This past year was 4-12 with a 5.22 ERA, 25 games, 25 starts, 1 complete game. He did finish in AAA for 1 start, went 6 innings, 2 earned runs, 8 Ks for AAA Salt Lake. So the stuff is there. It's just all about putting it together, consistent location with the fastball, battling the injuries, consistency, repetition for him. Angels ETA 2026, I guess matching it. Injuries could play a part. If they start him in AAA, has some good start, good few starts with them, could get called up, quick promotion. My ETA 2027. I think 2026 is a possibility as well, but I think this is an outlier for the Angels. They didn't shoot him up right away after he had a great, high A or double A start. They were kind of playing it out with him, working through some injuries. So, I think, have a full season. I think he's bounced around a lot between the Phillies system, the Angels system, from high A, single A, double A, triple A for 1 game to end the season. I'd say give him a full season in AAA. See what he can do. Full season, same team, work on those mechanics, develop that consistency, and then 2027, he is ready. Number 4, Johnny Slawinski, ETA 2029, 3rd-round draft pick in 2025, was committed to go to Texas A&M before signing with the Angels. Very projectable stuff from the left side. 50 grades across the board, curveball, fastball, 55 grade slider, changeup, and fastball, 6'3" frame, a 4-sport athlete in high school, and guys born in 2007, making me feel really, really old. Developmental arm for the Angels, something to their credit. They've really added velocity to these guys, and I think Slawinski could be a good benefactor. He sits kind of 93, 94 right now. Maybe get him up to 96, 97 on that arm slot. Angels ETA 2027. I think 2028 as well. Very difficult. Angels, this guy hasn't played in the minors yet. Get him at the very least a full season and then work him up from there. He's going to be turning 19 on the 26th. Oh, man, I'm planning a bash for him, guys. You guys are invited for 19 for Johnny Slawinski. Number 5 is Joshua Lugo, ETA 2029, shortstop, signed as an international free agent in 2024. Some very intriguing raw power. Last 2 seasons played in the Dominican Rookie Ball League. Thing that's really jumped off the page is the power numbers for him. Has a tendency to chase, but the power upside is there and has the possibility to be moved around if the Angels want to maybe move him over to third, even left field as well with his power numbers. I think ETA, me and the Angels, right in agreement, 2029. I think there's another one where Angels have Zach Neto there. Lugo, more of a developmental prospect, still in ACL rookie ball. I want to ask you guys a question because I know we have a few of these pitchers we discussed. Is what do you think of the Angels' strategy of you draft a guy, you put him in the minors, and they get called up within a few months if they're pitching well? What do you think of that?
I think it is what a lot of fans of the Pirates and the Brewers and other top farms, the White Sox, ask for. And then we have examples around the league of it happening, and you learn why they don't do it. And 2 reasons, right? And that's why the White Sox and the Brewers and the Pirates, to name a couple, have the best farm systems in baseball year in and year out, more consistently than maybe the Angels of the world, is for 2 reasons. You don't rush them, because if you rush them, now all of a sudden you're impacting their confidence a little bit. No one likes getting sent back to AAA, especially more than once after they've made their debut. 2, when you start that service time clock, you can't really slow it down unless you want to completely dismantle a guy's career. And so we've had this fascinating conversation before about how the average amount of time in the minors is going down because we have more access to advanced analytics. That is awesome. If you know you have a hit, play your hit. Sam said it before on this podcast. Don't hug your prospects. But everything within moderation. Don't zoom somebody up just because you get excited. I had to go back because I knew it had been a bit. The Angels have not had a winning season since 2015. So I can see why the front office gets eager and goes, look at all this promise we have in double and triple A that looked really good. Maybe they didn't actually do very well in double or triple A, but this guy was slugging in the 500s and had an OPS of 1200 in high A. I'm sure we can encapsulate that. The teams that get trigger happy and then make a habit of doing so repeatedly, I think run the risk of being in the spot the Angels have been in for a while. They had two of the best players in baseball, and they could not get over 500 for a prolonged period of time because they could not build around them. And it starts with your farm, and when you get trigger happy with your top prospects, nobody wins. So I disagree with it. I know there are fans of different farms that want their teams to act like the Angels. Oh, we have the good guys. We have the good guys. You have the good guys because you let your guys develop and learn and tweak their swing and their mechanics. So I'm against it. It is how they choose to do business, but I also think it's the reason they are where they are right now.
I'm also against it, and I am a fan of the one of those three teams you listed. I'm against it for a lot of the same reasons you are against it too, Corey. The key word here is patience, right? Mm-hmm. That's a key word. It's like having a draft pick. If you're an NBA general manager, there's a 2029 draft pick you have in the first round. You can go get someone with that draft pick, but why not let your roster just sit around and really gel together and wait for that guy in 2029 to come across your desk at pick number 16, and maybe he's the missing piece for an NBA Finals run within his first 4 years of his career. But on the other side of the same coin, why not just get the better guy now? Why not get the proven guy now? The Angels have this weird fascination of these guys are proving it right away. Let's get them up. And it simply put does not work. And Corey, I like how you alluded to the two best players on planet Earth being on the same roster for what? 6 seasons?
Yep.
2018 to 2023, and they didn't make the playoffs once? You have to have it. Baseball is a lot different than a sport like basketball or even a sport like football, where one guy can just take over a game and shift the entire outcome of that matchup. Granted, football, you still have 21 other guys on the field, but baseball, there's only really one position that can do that, and that's the pitcher. So you really need to be patient with your pitching, and the Angels just simply don't do that. That's why we have the memes of Mike Trout just hit 4 home runs and 7 RBIs. Shohei Ohtani went 5 scoreless on the mound as the Angels lose to the Detroit Tigers 11-8, right? So the whole team in baseball is a lot more important than the whole team in other professional sports, and the Angels, for whatever reason, just have simply yet to put the pieces of that puzzle together and realize that they can build that whole team in their own farm system.
Yeah, I full agreement. That's why I created the Angels ETA, debuting right here on the Minor League Minute podcast. So yeah, full agreement. It's really destroying the confidence. I think I'm going to go back to what Cory mentioned, but what both of you really mentioned, the confidence of these guys. I mean, that's developed. We talked about Konnor Griffin earlier. That's developed through the reps and through the action in minor league baseball. So quickly go over Diamond in the Rough, strengths, weaknesses. Diamond in the Rough, super excited. Don't mess this up, Angels. Rowdy Rodriguez, the number 25 prospect in the system, ETA 2027. He was the 19th round draft choice back in 2023. He came from the same high school as my last Diamond in the Rough, Daniel Espino. Spent last season in Inland Empire, now the Rancho Cucamonga squad that they've added for high A, batted 281, 372, 470 / 842 OPS, 14 homers, 83 RBIs, a 189 isolated power, 20% line drive rate, and a 10% home run to fly ball ratio, meaning that 10% of the time when he was hitting the ball in the air, it was leaving the yard. He also batted .433 at the Arizona Fall League and won the AFL Fall Stars MVP. Comp for me, guys, is Teoscar Hernandez. I think that's what Rowdy Rodriguez, the potential is there for it. Swing and miss needs to be ironed out, but that's kind of where the game is headed. I think that's something that can be corrected. Also invited to spring training, strengths, pitching variety with different arms. Even though they're rushing these guys up, a lot of their top prospects, it's hard fastball with Bremner, it's frisbee slider with Johnson, Slawinski all around, fastball, curve, change, Talon Haley, who's just outside of the top 5, 60 grade curveball, 55 grade slider. I mean, the great teams, you see it, have diversity across the pitching staff that have good fastballs, good breaking stuff, a mix of both. So the velocity is there as well. That's a strength. Weakness, MLB ready hit tool. 3 position players in their top 10 list. Lugo, along with Nelson Rada, Denzel Guzman, the best hit tool is 50. Lugo has the most potential out of the bunch, but just like the Pirates, I mean, this is a team that is in desperate need of that youthful energy. So Nada has a chance to be that guy right now, but it's still yet to be decided.
Well done, man. I know it's not a great farm, and it's a team that, again, even for a handful of years with Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout, didn't even have a winning season. But I think you did a great job of de-rooting why. Why does this team not have a great farm? Why did this team have 2 of the best players, the 2 best players in baseball for a handful of years and not win? It's because of the supporting cast, and it all starts in our bread and butter of content, the minor leagues. Before we get to my team in the soon-to-be Las Vegas Athletics, dare I say it, Quinn had a really good question in general, and part of it would apply to the minors, right? 3-parter, I'll kick us off. Who could sneakily be Rookie of the Year, Cy Young, and MVP? I said Carter Jensen, the Royals system. Brian Wu, not as sneaky anymore. He kind of had his coming out party this year, but big fan of, very much like George Kirby. Awesome, unbelievable strikeout to walk ratio. MVP, I don't know if I'm allowed to call it sneaky, but he was bruised up last year. I think Ronald Acuna Jr. comes back and wins it. Real quick, what do you guys have?
I like the basic answers. I don't know if you saw my response in there, because it's just those guys are that good, right? I think I would be leading people astray if I didn't tell you that odds are Judge and Ohtani are your MVPs again. Odds are Skubal and Skeens are your Cy Youngs again. But as for sneaky guys, is this the year Julio Rodriguez finally plays up to his ceiling? That's a question to think about. Another one to think about, I liked Acuna, but are we ever going to get possible MVP Lindor again? He's got a little extra padding in that lineup with the Mets now that they brought in Bo Bichette. I don't think Bichette is going to play up to MVP levels, but Lindor, I think he's still got it in him. And I think another dude in that lineup too, Juan Soto, might get an MVP this year too. For sneakies though, in the Cy Young, there aren't very many, but I like Cole Ragans if he can turn things around and really, take that extra step, that next step up in the American League. In the National League, Yoshi Yamamoto is really the only other name. Maybe Christopher Sanchez. He had a phenomenal season last year, but it's going to be tough to trump a guy like Paul Skeens. But I think Yoshi Yamamoto would be the only other dude in the league to possibly do that.
Fair.
Yeah, I think for me with the Rookie of the Year, I'm going with my guy that's been a riser before, JJ Weatherholt with the Cardinals.
Yeah.
He's going to get a lot of at bats. The team might not be great, but I think he's going to get a lot of at bats. He's going to get opportunities to grow. Andrew Painter for the Phillies. I'm excited about him. Don't know. The odds are still low. He's not in the, top contention. He's a sneaky guy to look out for if he, brings it all together. Yeah, sneaky Cy Young picks. Another name I was thinking of in the National League, Logan Webb for the Giants. He's kind of the model of consistency. I don't know, of course, usually, I think he's right. He's in that top 10 list. I think he's on the fringe, but he's a guy to keep an eye out for in the National League. Yeah, MVP, I was thinking Juan Soto, 2 Sam. That's who I'm thinking of. Kind of a sneaky guy to keep an eye on. Yeah, maybe even another one on the Dodgers. I mean, does Mookie Betts have a resurgence here? I don't know. I mean, that's another one to keep an eye on, perhaps. So, yeah, could do crazy.
Talking about models of consistency here, another National League name, and I don't think he's going to come close to winning it, but this might be a sneaky top 10 finisher. This might be like looking back on his baseball reference page in 10 years being like, this guy finished top 10, but went back to the Padres again this offseason. Michael King, for what Michael King is as a pitcher, his peak is one of the highest peaks I've seen for a guy of his kind of archetype, I guess I'll say. Michael King, sneaky top 10 Cy Young.
For winning it, the one more I have, and I was curious if Jacob was going to name drop him just because he's in his neck of the woods. He does need to fully recover in time. Zach Wheeler was right there, man, before he went down the home stretch last year for Cy. And I know that hurts because they were in the chase. They had their ace. They had a lot of different pieces, and he was very much the cornerstone of their rotation. His projected window since he got his operation done in late August, if we're being optimistic, is in April, May, but you really don't want to push that. But if he comes back in April and he's throwing 98, 99 again, put me on the Zach Wheeler train. That's probably not really a sneaky one because he's up there. But to Sam's point, it's Skeen's award to lose. So I'd put Wheeler in the hat as well if he can come back in time. Quinn's name dropping Cade Horton, touching 99 today in VPs. There's a handful of good names for sure. Logan Webb is an awesome pull. I think that is someone we're going to look back at and go, I didn't realize he was that good because there's just so many talented starting pitchers in the National League. Yeah, well done. I will flip us over to a very compelling case study. You talk about different major events that happen anytime, right? People post about it all the time online. This is going to be in the history books. The class of 2042 is going to be learning about this in U.S. history in 7th grade. Anyone who cracks open a hardcover book of Major League Baseball in the 2020s, there's at least going to be a footnote on A.J. Preller and what he has been doing and the ripple effect of how that has impacted the Athletics. I almost said Oakland. I'm going to go over their top 5, their strengths, their weaknesses, and I'll be throwing a few baseball philosophical questions your guys' way because multiple names that I am dropping were involved in the Mason Miller, JP Sears deal. Number 1, we all know this one, right? Leo DeVries, shortstop, ETA this year. Number 3 prospect in all of baseball per MLB.com right now. And the 2025 MLB trade deadline, as if he wasn't a big enough name already, only upped his popularity. I'm actually decent friends with the high A announcer in the Padres system, and he took to Twitter right away and just tweeted out dots because he had lost DeVries at the deadline. Life comes at you fast. DeVries was a part of that return package from the Padres again in exchange for one of the best closers in the game in Mason Miller. He's one of the most complete talents in baseball as well, and a rare prospect that you can truly claim has 5-tool player upside. There are a couple of tools that are yet to be fully realized in the stat box. More on that in a moment. True switch hitter. Just when you think you have him figured out, DeVries recorded 7 of 11 homers from the left side in 2024. Oh, he's advantage lefty. Nope. 2025, before that trade, 7 of his 8 homers came from the right side. He truly could be a 50-50 guy who could play those mind games with opposing managers, really, when they're trying to figure out what pitchers to throw in, and they realize it's a lose-lose situation. Double threat. He's an agile runner on the bases. Future calling is likely a steady middle infielder, as he has seen some work at second base, so not a true 100% bona fide gonna be the shortstop because he has that flexibility, but most certainly can hold it down in the 6th spot. Jamie Arnold's number 2, lefty, ETA 2027 on the mound. Brand new arm, ton of potential here. He's the team's 2025 first-round pick. The A's selected him at 11th overall. Arnold is 21 years old. He's coming off a stellar season at Florida State, and his polished nature with having some college baseball under his belt is why he has a projected debut of 2027. In 2024, he finished 3rd in strikeouts among all of NCAA Division I. The 2 in front of him, Hagen Smith, friend of the program, Chase Burns, friend of the program. Two names we've brought up a lot as top-tier prospects. Burns ETAing last year. The velocity's been steadily climbing in the last year or so. He took what was a low 90s fastball and turned it into a primary option that can touch 97. The arm slot's a bit funky, but he's got no issues with control, and he's earning a very early Chris Sale comparison for his ability to miss bats, to have a nasty slider, to come from that left side, and deceive hitters in general. Gage jump is number 3. He's a lefty ETA this year. Supposed to make the jump to the majors in 2026. We'll have to see. SEC arm again. Not just that, but an LSU arm from that 2024 squad. He struck out 101 hitters in 83 innings in his only year as a Tiger. We have a little more on him since he was in the minors last year. In his 31-inning stint with the high Lansing Lugnuts, take this with a grain of salt, still a long way to go, 45 Ks, 5 walks. That is what we like to see, a 9-to-1 K to walk ratio.
That's nuts,
right?
Yeah.
Quick math. Another lefty who has an arm angle that messes with hitters, has this jerky motion that doesn't allow his opponent to really time him up, and he hides the ball for a long time. You really don't know when it's coming. Kind of comes out like a slingshot. His slider's listed as his best pitch at a 60 grade. Fastball and curveball not far behind, rated at 55. 4-pitch mix in total, and scouts see him turning into a middle-of-the-rotation starter. Going to get your guys' thoughts after number 4 because it's going to tie back to a larger question. Braden Nett, right-handed pitcher, 2026. Might sound like a familiar name as well because Nett was also in the Mason Miller trade with Leo DeVries in the return package. Flamethrower, ability to touch 99 as a projected starter. Fastball's at a 60 grade. But wait, there's way more. He's toying with a 5-pitch mix. So now he has the 99-mile-an-hour fastball at times. He has a 5-pitch arsenal. Has not thrown a single pitch in AAA yet. So what is the pitfall here? He has battled a handful of injuries. So staying on the mound, stacking up those innings year over year to feel confident, to get that final promotion, and then carrying those good habits he's been building, and hopefully a more durable reputation into the bigs will be pivotal. Two of the names I just dropped, DeVries and Nett, in the return package for Mason Miller. Where are you guys at philosophically? And maybe we have a biased pool. We are a minor league baseball podcast. Sam, we'll start with you. Do you go win it all and just throw the farm at somebody, or make sure you make a point to retain some of your, especially your top prospects, but some of your top talents to build something bigger and, for lack of a better phrase, keep that window open longer? Where do you lie on that?
Well, for the next calendar year or so, we're going to have one specific answer.
Yeah.
And then as soon as December 1st of 2026, midnight rolls around, we might have a different answer. So I think at least for now, that answer is it depends on who you are as a franchise. Are you a franchise that spends a lot? Are you a franchise that can afford to spend a lot? Because there's a difference between the Angels spending and the Dodgers spending.
Yep.
Or are you a franchise that relies on your prospect development like the A's? And the A's, I mean, for all intents and purposes here, the A's have a pretty solid roster right now in the big leagues too. And it's only going to get better when some of these guys like DeVries and Jump and Nett and maybe even your next guy too start to get looks even as early as this year. But to really answer your question, I don't think it's worth. This is where the prospect hugging debate comes in. I don't know if it's entirely worth it, at least from the perspective of the Mason Miller trade, to throw away like 6 prospects or however many. It was 4 to 6. And I know the Ryan O'Hearn one was a ton of prospects, but to throw away a bunch of prospects and high level ones at that for a relief pitcher. And relief pitchers, especially in today's game, their peaks are amazing, but they fall off pretty quick unless your name's Aroldis Chapman. Yeah. So I don't know if it's worth it in that context, but from a general standpoint, it's trading for the better stick, trading for the better bat, trading for the better arm. Why wait for these guys to prove themselves to you at the big league level when you can just go and get that guy right now? I personally think, depending on the context, I think it is worth it to throw 3 prospects for a superstar.
Yeah, it almost feels like a full circle moment. 11 episodes in, we're back to the conversation that we had episode 1. AJ Preller, what are you doing? I mean, I think and Cory and I again discussed that on that episode was more of like, yeah, the look, hey, maybe AJ Preller's thinking about something. And, like Sam said, you're the better player. That the Padres have consistently shown that they're a team that is willing to make that trade, sign that big deal in order to compete in the arms race that is the National League. So, and that's what AJ Preller has done, and he's done it before leading up to this trade. Yeah, just it's just a kind of a quick note on net. It's like that, video, a meme where it's like, oh, hey mom, we have Mason Miller at home. Well, maybe Braden Net is Mason 5-pitch mix. He throws 99. Maybe. I mean, you'll have to see. But yeah, I think it's a tough ask, but yeah, I think it's the Padres made the deal that they wanted to win now. Maybe if Miller's converted to a starter, we think differently if he's throwing more. But yeah, it fills both of the team's philosophies, like Sam was saying.
It's the Seth MacFarlane Family Guy gag. It's the boat versus the mystery box. Like, the boat's a boat, but the mystery box could be anything. It could even be a boat. And same thing goes with prospects. Like, Mason Miller is Mason Miller, but Braden Net, he could end up being Mason Miller, right? So, I mean, depending on which side of that trade you're on. I mean, this whole question, really, this whole philosophy, there's no right answer to it, to be quite honest with you. It's entirely contextual based on what you view as the right answer.
And there's no way to answer it even a few months out like we are now without fully having a solid, this was the correct move or this wasn't. Everything in context is a good way to put it, right? Because is a team pulling from a surplus? Like, for example, do the A's feel like they have such a good pitching crop, and so far you're starting to see it, that Mason Miller is replaceable, so they want to go out and get some more bats. Fill out the infield fill out the lineup that had someone like Soderstrom break out. They already have Rooker. And then for the Padres, did they feel like they had a surplus everywhere? Preller threw the whole farm. So there is trading your top prospect, and then there is trading about between a third and 40% of your top 30. And so Preller went with the latter, and that kind of drummed up the conversation that ended up being episode 1. But I think everything in context is an important way to look at it. Are you, if you pull your top prospect out, pulling from a surplus and finding something to add? And then does the mystery box end up being a boat? Does it end up being a paperclip? We end up seeing from there. Last little note here, Cubs fan here, right? The Cubs just sold off their top prospect in Owen Casey. They needed starting pitching. Did they get the right starting pitcher, right? They went out and got Edward Cabrera, who's thrown over 100 innings last year for the first time in his career. You have to see if he's going to end up being healthy. They needed it, and what did they pull from? Got 1 billion outfield prospects, and they've got 1 billion outfielders trying to fight for those last roster things too, roster spots. So just a compelling argument that, to Jacob's point, we did bring up about 3 months ago, wanted to revisit it as we start to turn the page officially to 2026. Henry Bolte's been brought up on this episode, or on this podcast before, when we were talking about the AAA champions and different players that were really standing out. The Aviators were one of the best one of the best minor league teams in any farm system last year. They had a really successful year. Bolte was at the forefront of it. Outfielder, ETA's 2026. He was on that AAA Aviators team. Just for 34 games, he hit 300 solid. Overall, his batting average has gone up in each and every one of his 4 years in the pros. This is an example of another good farm system, knowing just how long to hold someone before it's time to promote them and when they're ready for that next step in difficulty. As an outfielder, he's got that 65 run attribute. That's going to come in handy. He also stole 44 bags last year, 46 the year before that. The aspect to work on for this big bat is a common one with somebody who has Bolte's profile. His strikeout rate's been around 30%, well above league average. So crazy, honestly, considering he's hitting 268 in his minor league career. That just means for Joe Schmo's soft ground out, Bolte is striking out. But if you're on a team that is a fan of small ball or manufacturing runs, things like that do matter. That is the difference between a 3-1 win and a 1-1 let's go to extras, we just got walked off, if you're striking out and not at least putting the ball in play. Healthy walk rate too, so literally just strikes out more than some guys. Quickly, diamond in the rough, Gavin Turley, number 11 in the system, an outfielder, ETA 2028. Somebody who could have entered the minor league baseball landscape out of high school, but with the Diamondbacks calling his name in the 19th round, he ended up going to Oregon State, school with a handful of powerful recent alums. He was a 4th-round pick this last year after his trip to the Summer Collegiate Cape Cod League. Sam has brought up that's the premier place to go if you're trying to really cut your teeth into what minor league ball could look like, kind of that last step, unless you go into a draft league before that. 65 grade power, 60 grade arm for Turley. Expect him to be more of a Wyatt Langford type, where it's an outfielder who can bring thump to the plate. He's not sprinting all over and super rangy and covering a ton of ground, but he plays his position respectfully. 10,000-foot view of this farm system, you can tell the strengths pitching, right? 3 of the top 5 prospects in the pipeline toe the rubber. So, to Jacob's point, maybe we do have Mason Miller at home. We've got a couple good candidates for it, right? All 3 are projected to debut in the next 2 seasons. So we might find out pretty soon if we have Mason Miller at home or not. Weaknesses, I'm being nitpicky. I guess corner infielders. The Athletics crop is healthy. They have the top-end talent in DeVries, but just one true corner infielder per his distinction in Tommy White. Keep in mind, though, a lot of shortstops can still be molded and go elsewhere. And DeVries, if he really needs to fill a void elsewhere, has the arm to go over to third. He can pick a ball fine. So the closer proximity of playing the hot corner is not exactly an issue. And the Athletics are starting to build out a pretty impressive, powerful lineup. That's usually one of the expectations of your corner infielders, and they already have that. So out of all the times I've had to say the weakness of a farm system, this might have been the toughest. I genuinely think this team makes the playoffs this year, and they get better next year. That is not out of the realm of possibility, and if anything, I think it's more likely than not because of, you want to talk about a front office that's gotten a lot of flack, say what you will about the location of the Athletics and how that's been handled. They know how to develop, they know how to make a deal, and they know how to build up from nothing. And they've come a long way from nothing in the last couple of years. So there's your overview of the soon-to-be Vegas Athletics.
Let's go to our third installment here of today's farm features. I'm calling them the Strong Farm. Seattle Mariners. All 5 of their 2026 top 5 have made it into MLB's top 100 prospects, and all 5 are also in their own respective top 10 prospect rankings at their position. So we'll start with Colt Emerson, shortstop, MLB's 9th overall prospect, 7th overall shortstop. And if this doesn't tell you how strong the shortstop position is in minor league baseball, I'm not entirely sure what will. Again, he's the 9th overall prospect in baseball. And he's the 7th shortstop, which that means there are 6 other shortstops in the top 10, which is just unheard of. He's going on 21 years old, and there's a better than 0 chance he'll be in Major League Baseball by season's end. And he played his first full season of professional action in 2025 in 130 games at High A Everett, Double A Arkansas, and that 6-game stint at Triple A Tacoma, which we'll talk about in just a second. He slashed .285, .383, .458. That's an .841 OPS, 144 hits, 28 doubles, 6 triples, 16 homers, 78 RBIs, only 105 strikeouts in 130 games. He's a pure hitter with impressive plate vision, solid defense, and that's basically the perfect recipe for a franchise shortstop. And just those 6 games from AAA Tacoma, he went 8 for 22 with an 1171 OPS, 2 homers, 2 doubles, 9 RBIs. Projected debut for him is 2026. I'm going to ride 2026 as well. The infield currently for the Mariners feels full. They just brought in Brendan Donovan in a trade with the Cardinals. They've had longtime shortstop J.P. Crawford, and they called up last year, and he's still there right now at second base, another former top shortstop prospect in the system in Cole Young. But J.P. Crawford's never been known as a good hitter, and Cole Young was pretty bad at the plate in his rookie season. Colt Emerson continues to find offensive success at AAA. I think there's justification in bringing him up to at least be the every other day starter at either shortstop or second base, because the defense is comparable to both Cole Young and J.P. Crawford. And J.P. Crawford's a really good defender in years past, very flashy guy at shortstop. I could see Colt Emerson slowly overtaking a role from J.P. Crawford or even Cole Young at And remember, I did say earlier in this episode that the name of the game for the Seattle Mariners this year is addition by subtraction. J.P. Crawford's on an expiring deal. That's all I'm going to say about that now. We'll talk about that in a little bit later. Cade Anderson at number 2. I'm going to keep it short and sweet with him. Left-handed pitcher, MLB's 21st overall prospect, 3rd overall lefty. I've loved this guy since he got selected 3rd overall in last year's draft. He didn't pitch professionally in 2025, which is a trend that's becoming more and more common, especially with the top dogs in an MLB draft. His college numbers, though, across 2024 and 2025 at LSU, again, he turned from being a stretch reliever and spot starter into the best pitcher in college baseball, according to some scouts. 37 games, 28 of them starts, a 16-3 win-loss record, 3.38 ERA, and 157 and a third innings pitched. He had only 55 walks to, and you're going to hear this number right, I'm not mistaken here, 239 strikeouts in 157 innings pitched in college baseball. Woof.
Gross.
A 1.169 whip as well, 13.7 Ks per 9. In just his 2025 season, he was 12-1 with a 3.18 ERA, 119 of those 157 and a third innings pitched. Did give up 16 homers. That's not ideal. But he was also playing in the SEC, which is the mecca of college baseball. 35 walks to, in just those 119 innings, 180 strikeouts with a 1.059 whip. Projected debuts 2027. I'm going to go a little backwards from what some might think for Cade Anderson going forward. I think it's 2028. And the reason for this is obviously, number one, he is yet to pitch professionally. So that still has to happen. His pro debut, whether it's at the Arizona Complex League, whether it's with Single A Modesto, or it's with High A Everett, whoever it's with, he still needs to have his pro debut. The jump is not going to be easy for a guy coming out of college going to minor league baseball. It never is. It never will be. So Cade Anderson's got to get adjusted to that. Plus, reason number 2 here, Brian Wu, Logan Gilbert, Bryce Miller, and George Kirby all have arbitration years left. Luis Castillo is under a guaranteed deal for 3 more years. There is zero need to rush Cade Anderson if you're the Seattle Mariners. There is no need to get him to go up higher than he really needs to be. I think he'll start the year at High A just because of how electric his stuff is. But eventually, we're going to need to see some more fastball development, at least in the speed department. The other stuff, his movement's great, his control's great. Cade Anderson, going to be a little longer than some people might expect, I believe, before he debuts. Ryan Sloan is their number 3 prospect, a right-handed pitcher, Major League Baseball's 33rd prospect, and he's the number 6 right-handed pitcher in the top 10 righties. 60 grades on his fastball and changeup, 55 on his slider and his control, and he's got good physicals too at 6'5", 220. He's a little taller and a little bit more huskier than Cade Anderson, who's at 6'2", 180. Sloan did make his pro debut, but again, the trend here, he got drafted in 2024, didn't pitch professionally after being drafted. So his first real season of professional baseball was last year, 2025. He had 21 games started at Single A and High A, 82 innings, a 2-4 record, which again, win-loss is kind of irrelevant nowadays, but it's still important to include it. Is he getting wins, or is he going out there and the team's not performing? A 3.73 ERA for Ryan Sloan last year in those 21 games. 80 hits, only allowed 5 homers in 82 innings, 15 walks to 90 strikeouts. This is another strikeout demon. This is a guy who's got great control, very deceptive stuff. Did have a fairly high batting average against at 256, but still a 1.16 whip. Projected debut for Ryan Sloan is 2028. I'm, again, like Cade Anderson, I'm going to go a year behind that. Despite the success that he's seen so far, I think it's going to be 2029. He's also a year younger than Cade Anderson. Cade Anderson has the hype. If he performs, he'll debut before Ryan Sloan. This is also, again, like I just said, the same situation. The Mariners starting rotation is all under control for multiple years past 2026. There's no need to rush Ryan Sloan either. I'd also like to see him develop one more pitch. He's got a 3-pitch mix. I'd like to see him get at least another one. Otherwise, if he's going to ride the 3-pitch mix, that's fine. I would just feel more comfortable with you as a bullpen arm. And because of the speed he's got on his fastball, I think he'd be more of a high leverage bullpen arm too. Number 4, this is probably my favorite prospect out of their top 5 because Lazaro Montes mashes. He's an outfielder, and he's going to be a corner outfielder. MLB's 43rd overall prospect, 9th overall outfielder, which again tells you a lot about the outfield depth in minor league baseball. He's a big, tall lefty bat, 6'5", but he's only got a 35 grade run tool, which is why he's kind of stuck to the corners or being a DH. And it's not like the Houseway to Paula run grade where it's very low, but he still steals 25 to 30 bags a season. Montes is just slow. It's simply put, not being disrespectful, he is just slow. 65 grade power, though, is clearly his best attribute. He also has 50 grade hit and arm tools, and he's going to be only 21 years old for the entirety of the 2026 season. Still a very young guy. He's still got to fill out just a little. I'd like to see him add maybe 10 to 15 pounds of muscle this season, and he might turn into the second coming of Yordan Alvarez. That's who I would give him as his pro player comp right now, because Alvarez has that size. Alvarez was also, he's not the quickest guy. He's kind of stuck to the corners in the outfield. And the defense for both of them just isn't like turning any heads, I guess is the right way to put it. 2025 numbers, 131 games with high A Everett and double A Arkansas. 241, 354, 504 slash line, 500 slugging, 858 OPS. He got almost 120 hits, 19 doubles, 32 homers, which is a career high for one season to this point for Lazaro Montes, 89 RBIs, 89 walks as well, but he struck out 169 times, which is unfortunately also a career high to this point for a single season for Lazaro Montes. So the strikeouts are a problem, but he's going to figure that out slowly but surely. Again, he's very young. He's got a lot of time. Projected debuts 2027. I'm going to roll 2028, but I could see it being sooner because of the free agent situation with the Mariners outfielders currently. He's a non-roster invitee this year, but there's also a bunch of dudes from AAA, like Spencer Packard, who had a very, very good season last year. Brennan Davis, former Cubs third overall prospect, spent all of 2025, was pretty productive with the Yankees AA and AAA teams. Victor Labrada and other top outfield prospects and Jared Sundstrom and Johnny Farmello are also non-roster invitees this year. So there's a slight little pecking order here. Montes is kind of middle of the road in that order. If he's got a good spring this year, we might see him September 2027. If it's rough, we'll see him September 2028 for sure. Probably a little sooner than that. Either way, I see him either leading or being at least top 10 in home runs in AA this year. That guy mashes. Great power in that stick. And number 5, this is where the addition by subtraction comes in. Michael Arroyo, second baseman, MLB's 67th overall prospect, and he's second baseman number 2. He's got 50 to 55 grades across the board. Very balanced player, despite the lack in physicals. He's 5'10", 160, so he's not the biggest guy in the world. He joined the Mariners 2022. He was part of that international signing period. Same signing period as the previously mentioned prospect, Lazaro Montes. Second base, just in general, is not very deep in minor league baseball outside of Travis Bazzana. So it's going to be a fun name to keep tabs on as we get closer to July. And I think the trade deadline this year is August 3rd. I think it's a pretty late trade deadline this year, if I'm not mistaken. So he's going to be a fun name to pay attention to because there's a few things I could see Seattle doing if they really want to try and get to that first World Series in franchise history. I could see Seattle doing a multitude of things. One of them might be moving this guy. He's got 2020 potential, both with doubles and homers and with homers and stolen bases. His 2025 numbers, 121 games with high A and double A. There was a slight dip below his 2024 production, he was very good in 2024, but he was still solid in 2025. He had a 262, 401, 433 slash. That's an 834 OPS. 118 hits, 24 doubles. He had one triple, which was down from 7 the year before. Excuse me. 17 homers, 54 RBIs, 69 walks, and 104 strikeouts, which is way down from the 136 he racked up in 2024. So the eye is getting better. The plate discipline is getting better. He has also had only 12 stolen bases, which was down from 18 in 2024. Projected debut is 2026. Here's what I'm thinking. If he is still a Mariner post-trade deadline, it's 2027. If he's not a Mariner, I could actually see it being later. I think one of Michael Arroyo or Cole Young could or should be moved at the 2026 deadline if the Mariners are serious about trying to get to a World Series. What do you guys think?
I would say so. And this kind of I agree with you. This kind of stems into Drew's question as well in our chat. Drew Best just said, can they afford to make another splash to solidify themselves as a surefire contender as a whole? Or is Donovan enough, referring to Brendan Donovan, the trade just a couple of weeks ago? I think this team's ready to contend. I was being young and dumb and saying last year they're going to win the World Series, and obviously the Dodgers exist. So that's something you have to consider anytime you make a claim like that. But look, baseball, regardless of how much it evolves, and this applies to your question too, is if you can hit the ball 1 out of every 3 times, you're a Hall of Famer. It is pitcher led. It is pitcher advantageous. And that starting rotation that you just said, Sam, I'd put it up there depth-wise with anybody. Not extremely top-heavy, right? When George Kirby's on, I think he's an awesome ace. Brian Wu kind of developed into that last year. Both guys just simply do not walk opposing hitters. And then you have these other guys like Taylor Dollard, or like you have Ryan Sloan coming up. There is absolutely no rush to push their development and get them into the majors when you have as stacked of a rotation as you do, and you have that control. So answering your question somewhat and parlaying it into my answer for Drew's, I think they are a contender. I think you actually need the guys currently in the clubhouse, like a Julio Rodriguez, to show up and be the MVP we know he can be. If everybody gets 5% better, why can't they win the whole thing? If the Dodgers don't exist, of course.
Yeah, I agree, and I think the Mariners, the rotation is there, the offense is there. I think they show that they can do a lot of different things offensively, mash the ball, get on base. I think Donovan really helps that and set up their power department. Yeah, I think one name, and Sam, excellent job kind of listing out some names here as well. I think one name, take a look at Brian Abreu. I love that. I know the Astros wouldn't want to do that, but I mean, what really let them go against the Blue Jays? That depth in the bullpen, outside of Andres Munoz, you add another great arm back there, like an Abreu, like a Chapman in that scenario that can really solidify. I mean, that's the one kind of weakness I'm looking at for them right now. So yeah, I think that they want to be aggressive. They want to solidify themselves in an open American league, which it's a few teams there, but I mean, it's a league to take, and they can take it with a move like that.
Yeah, and I do have some names to at least watch that I could see Seattle being interested in, and I could see a package of Michael Arroyo and my diamond in the rough, my next guy, Taylor Dollard, that we'll talk about in a second, as being kind of like the front runners, or Cole Young and Taylor Dollard, or Cole Young and another pitcher like Teddy McGraw, so on and so forth, to go after an Aroldis Chapman, who's on an expiring deal. And again, he's an ageless wonder. He just seemingly does not want to let his career die out yet. If he's having a strong year and Boston's not competing for whatever reason, maybe Boston looks to reload, right? Brian Abreu, it would be kind of tough for an in-division trade, especially with Houston. But again, is Houston going to be competitive again this year, or are they going to be kind of middle of the road like they were this past season? Brian Abreu could be available because he's also on an expiring deal. Some other guys on expiring deals I could see Seattle going after to fulfill some lack of offense, which there really isn't much, but there is on the middle infield and at the DH spot. Who are you going to have DH? Gleyber Torres is a guy I could see. Jorge Soler. Jorge Soler's had some postseason heroics in the past. I could see it again. Jazz Chisholm, if the Yankees are struggling, or if the Yankees want to try and retool with a Cole Young instead, a cheaper option at second base and a guy that they can kind of mold into who they want to be. Jazz Chisholm could be on the move. And the Cubs, Nico Horner. This is an addition by subtraction move too. The Cubs want to be competitive for longer. Why not make Nico Horner's expiring deal worth your while instead of letting him walk? Because the Cubs like to act like a small market team where they feel like their wallet's strapped. So are they really going to try and re-sign Nico Horner this offseason? And if not, if the answer is no, Seattle is a team I could 1,000% see being in on Nico Horner. Let's get into my diamond in the rough with Taylor Dollard. This is going to be, I want to say, the first in our now 28 farm features that has had a diamond in the rough that is unranked. in a top 30. Taylor Dollard was not ranked in 2025. He's 26 years old now, and he fell out of Seattle's top 30 this past year. He was number 21 in 2024 and number 9 in the 2023 season. He tore his shoulder labrum in 2023 and missed all of 2024 season to that injury, among other injuries as well. This guy is not a velo guy. He reminds me of a step above, at least in the velo department, a step above Zach Davies, where he relies a lot on movement and location. He's got a fastball that averages around 91 miles an hour. The slider's in the upper 70s, excuse me, and his curveball is a very, very much almost a 12-6 curveball, and he's got a solid changeup as well, so a 4-pitch mix. Not a lot of velocity, but he's got a lot of movement. He's got a lot of tail to that changeup and a lot of cut to that slider. 2025 numbers at high A Everett. He was, again, first season back since 2023. He only pitched in 13 games, 12 of them starts. He got 55 innings. Which is averaging just a hair above 4 innings per outing, which, again, coming off a very severe injury like a shoulder labrum tear, that's to be expected. 3-3 win-loss, 3.90 ERA, 59 hits allowed. He did give up 11 homers, but again, trying to get reacclimated to professional ball. 13 walks, 37 Ks, a 1.3 whip. Projected debut is 2026. That is his projected debut, but if he's still a Mariner, I'm not sure. The right answer here is I don't know if he's going to debut at all if he's still a Mariner. If he's not with them, I could see some team that's looking to get a couple spot starts out of a guy, call him up in 2027. Again, I need him to get used to higher level minor league competition again, but the reality of the situation is that he's in the exact same boat as Cade Anderson and Ryan Sloan, just way further down the pecking order. But I think he's a name that might catch a GM's eye as a reclamation project, or again, as a spot starter late in the year to get some innings, to eat some innings up for an injury-riddled team, or again, reclamation project and an opportunity to provide for a big league staff in a year or so. The strength here, the main strength for Seattle's rotation, plenty of starting pitching depth, and it's a lot of soon-to-be pro-ready arms. Their AAA staff is headlined by Randy Dobnak and Dane Dunning right now, but below AAA, they've got guys like Teddy McGraw, Michael Morales, Sloan, and Anderson that are all non-roster invitees this spring, so they're definitely going to get us a better look and get some action and a better understanding of this team's starting pitching depth the further down the system they go. And again, some of these guys might become expendable for a team that wants to get to that World Series, that feels like they're in a competitive era of their franchise, and probably the most competitive era of this franchise's history outside of 2001. I could definitely see them moving maybe a couple of these arms to get a big bat or to get a big bullpen guy. Weakness, I think this is also a first. It's the age factor of their top 30. Their top 10 is all 21 years old or younger, but 11 through 30 contains 9 players that are 24 and older, including 4 26-year-olds, which Taylor Dollard is one of them. So the Mariners farm is not very young outside of the top 10. It's very top-heavy in terms of age. And at some point, if you don't win the World Series again this year, maybe the direction changes where you offload. Again, addition by subtraction. Maybe you offload to help boost your farm system a little bit while still maintaining competition at the big league level.
So something to watch there, Sam. An awesome job on it. That is a very unique weakness. We haven't seen it before where guys are on the other side of 25. This applies to Dollard, and this applies to other guys. I don't know how worried you are about someone outside your top 30 per se, but let's say some of the people in the top 30 who are past 26, they can get poached by the Rule 5 draft. If you're in the league past the age of 19 and you've got 4 years, which Dollard actually qualifies under this, if they believe they have some upside in him, that front office on some of those needle mover transactions has to start thinking, if we don't move this guy on our terms, we're going to get poached. Like, the Rule 5 draft is so pitcher heavy too. Other teams are going to see these 25, 26-year-olds, and all of a sudden you look at the top 30 for 2027 for the Mariners and you go, what the heck happened? Don't be shocked if 5 or 6 of them are gone because they've been in the minors for too long. If you're drafted at the age of 18, you get 5 years, and if you're not on the 40-man, you're Rule 5 eligible. If you're drafted at 19 or later, it's 4 years. Dollard, and a lot of those guys that you just named and or alluded to, they fall under that umbrella. So just something to kind of keep an eye on there.
Absolutely. Yeah, the Rule 5, luckily for a league that's going to be snapping their collective bargaining agreement, the Rule 5 might not happen for a little bit. So Seattle is kind of going to be the benefactor of timing here. But yes, it's not a great look to see that almost a third of your top 30 is Rule 5 draft eligible. And some of those guys are not, I mean, a few of them are non-roster invitees this year. So they're not on the 40-man roster. What's going to stop a St. Louis Cardinals who need an innings eater from picking up Taylor Dollard for nothing, for literally pennies on the dollar?
Yeah, it's a great point and a great review of a very strong farm system. You see the log jam with the rotation and the pitching staff in general, and you go, that's great. We have an embarrassment of riches. And then it's a really bad embarrassment when you realize that some of those guys could get poached. If you don't want to keep him around, whatever. But it's the same philosophy as with Nico Horner, for example. At least get rid of him while he's still worth something if you know he's not going to be on your team next year. Same with some of these guys. I would not be shocked to kind of answer and go back to Drew Best's question. Are they going to do anything else? I don't think a blockbuster deal is in order, but I think it's a proactive approach to take some of these Rule 5 draft eligible players. You might get a little wiggle room with the CBA coming up and expiring. I think it's a proactive move to take some of those guys and try and get literally anything. It's better than just losing him for nothing. Like you had mentioned, if you have missed any of our episodes in the past, or you are listening to this one late, or you're seeing a clip of it, or you're starting to become familiar with who we are, a quick note on our podcast.
Did you miss the live version of our Minor League Weekly podcast? No worries. We've got you covered at Minor League Minute on YouTube and Minor League Weekly on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Then you can go back to watch or listen to the whole episode for all of your prospect and affiliate ball needs. So what are you waiting for? Go follow, subscribe, and turn on those post notifications to get caught up with the latest. That's Minor League Weekly on all of those platforms.
And welcome back to the last segment of episode 11 of Minor League Weekly. NCAA baseball has begun, and it began with a bang. You expect the occasional crazy scores, some weird stat lines as non-conference play happens, but holy moly, I'll kick us off here. 3 grand slams from Tice Armstrong, a name literally out of left field, from being in the top of the lineup for the University of Texas at Arlington a year ago to flipping over to Baylor. Have a debut weekend, kid. 12 runs batted in, 3 grand slams in one game. The first player to achieve that feat in NCAA play in 50 years. Louisville had a player, Jim LaFountain, hit 3 of them, had 2 in the same inning. So talk about a crazy day for someone back in 1976 against Western Kentucky. Kind of a similar theme to what we'll be talking about with some of these later matchups where the score gets a little jaded. 3 grand slams in one day, and all of a sudden, someone who was at the top of the order for the University of Texas at Arlington, who's a good baseball player, might be entering MLB draft boards in about 5 months from now. And the other end of the Wagner story, Virginia puts up 31 runs on Wagner. Back end of a doubleheader, the front end of which Virginia put up 25. So yes, that means Virginia earned 56 runs in 24 hours. And Wagner gave up 56 runs in 24 hours. I rest my case.
Again, what do you say to your guys in the clubhouse?
The sun will come up tomorrow.
As a coach of that double header, what do you say to your guys when you just gave up 56 in 18 innings? I'm not sure what to do. I don't know if I were in that situation. I don't even know if I'd open my mouth. I just point blank simple. I don't know what I would have to say. All right, guys, let's go get him next time. I don't know. Like, what do you say?
Crazy.
Sit in silence. The silent treatment. Everyone sit in silence.
Give them 5 minutes. Room. All right, you're good to go.
Yeah.
See you tomorrow. Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. I mean, just looking at, I guess, the box score. 10-run fourth inning in that, I guess 31 run performance. Just looking at the run log on the team's website, just impressive to see. For me, just a personal, I guess, connection here in Philadelphia. Guys, LaSalle University baseball back after 5 years, and another team that put up a big amount of runs, 24 runs in their first game back in a 7-inning matchup. Again, sorry, Cedric. In a sweep of the University of Maryland Eastern. Sure, they won all 3 games, including the first 2 scoring at least 10 runs. So shout out, a 3-0 start for a program that was disbanded back in 2021 that is coming back with a vengeance. A player to shout out on my end, Cameron Johnson, 6 innings, 11 Ks for Oklahoma baseball versus Texas Tech in the Shriners Classic Game 1. Transferred from LSU, struggled last year out of the pen in a pen roll with a 5.56 ERA, was drafted out of high school by the Cardinals back in 2023, elected to go to college ball, played for LSU, and started. Very smooth delivery, struck out every batter in the starting lineup at least once. The fastball, the breaking stuff, very nice to see from Johnson headlining that Oklahoma rotation.
Yeah, unfortunately we're gonna keep the belt on Texas Tech here a little bit. Arkansas versus Texas Tech in another game of that Shriners Children's College Showdown. Arkansas up 4-1 in the 9th inning, and then they were down 5-4. Closer Cooper Dossett blew the save in his first appearance since May of 2024. He had Tommy John surgery, missed all of 2025. Came back in this game and was responsible for all 4 runs that crossed the plate. But don't be afraid. Arkansas came in. Koziel hit a solo shot to tie the game at 5 in the bottom of the 9th. Going all the way to the 11th inning, Micah New hits a walk-off sac fly to walk off the Red Raiders. I'm also going to go for another college baseball story, and this one's a little personal. My younger brother Max pitches Division II at Washburn University, and so far through his first 2 outings against Palm Beach Atlantic and against MSU Denver, I forget what MSU stands for out there in Denver, he unfortunately got the loss against MSU Denver despite not giving up a run, which confuses me. Not entirely sure how that worked. Maybe it's just a loss in the game, because I know they lost that game. MSU Denver is the 23rd team in the country in D2. But so far, he's gone 3 innings, 6 hits. He did give up 4 runs, but none of them were earned against Palm Beach Atlantic. So his ERA is still 0 through 3 innings. 1 walk to 5 strikeouts. Does have 1 hit batter. But yeah, 0.00 ERA for Maxie's Division II debut.
There we go. Max is shoving. He was from a JUCO college in Illinois, right? Was it Rock Valley? Am I getting that right?
Yes.
Yep.
Rock Valley, right down the street from me, about 20-minute drive.
Good stuff. That is awesome. Well, he makes an appearance. We'll have to keep an eye on Max, see if he gets if that team starts to get any ranked votes in D2 or anything like that. And we brought it up before, right? Like, we're doing the full scope when it comes to our recognition of college baseball. Obviously, NCAA Division I kicking off, getting underway. We were watching at, 2 of us 3, myself and Sam, are pretty close to the Milwaukee area. So we were watching UW Milwaukee give LSU a couple scares, and then we saw the bullpens separate themselves. We'll put it that way. That's kind of where the drop-off was. But literally any division, any level, anything like that when it comes to collegiate baseball, JUCO as well, if there's crazy feats, let us know in the live chat. Let us know across our various social media platforms that are plugged throughout this channel, and we will shout those out and give our reactions to them. That's going to do it for episode 11. The finishing episode of our first dozen is a week from today. We'll keep looking at college baseball. Maybe we'll have a Rock Chalowski, Justin LeBron conversation that's starting to dial up a little bit on various social media platforms. And we will mix in our last run of farm features. For Jacob Smedley, for Sam Strash, Cory Sparks here signing off. We will catch you next week. Every story starts somewhere, and in baseball, that somewhere is the minors. the breakout stars,
Early on in day 3 of the draft, the Pirates called.
the wild moments, and the prospects you need to know about.
A sub-3 ERA in both single and double A.
This is Minor League Weekly, your inside look at the future of the game.